Hello and welcome at Thomas Geiger Car. Today with a glimpse in the not so far future of Mercedes-Benz. While everybody's talking about the CLA and the reinvention of the electric vehicle by Mercedes, the engineers are already prepping the next big step, the GLC. Their best-selling car will debut as a fully electric model at the Munich Auto Show in September and hit the markets next spring. You might think the GLC is only 4 years old, and why is there a new one coming? Because the new one is fully electric, and both of the cars will join forces and run together as a pair. If you want to know the first details about that car that will challenge the BMW Neue Klasse, that will launch as an SUV as well, join me in my first review here at Thomas Geiger Car. Before we hit the road and finally get behind the wheel, let's just take a short moment to talk about size and shape of the car. Even if it's heavily camouflaged and we can't see any details, we know already a few things. The idea is to give the people the best of the actual GLC and improve its capabilities even a bit more. The car is the best-selling Mercedes in the lineup, so Mercedes can't risk any compromises. And that means the car will get as comfortable as the GLC, it will have the same status as the actual GLC, and it will give you the same capacities, meaning the same roominess, the same driving performance. For that reason, Mercedes has stretched the electric version a little. We're talking about a gain of 13 centimeters, so we're reaching roughly 4.80 meters. That gives the engineers the space for a bigger battery, and that gives the rear seat occupants more legroom. And since the car is a family hauler, we're talking about a huge trunk, we're finally talking about a decent frunk, and the car can haul a trailer as well. But now enough for talking. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, the proof of a car is in the driving. So join me and we'll take a first spin. It's still a year ahead until the car hits the market, but we're actually sitting in a prototype. Not only sitting, no, we're driving the prototype. You can't see a lot, everything is still covered. But with a little bit of imagination and seeing the pictures and the videos of the CLA show car, the CLA prototypes, you have at least an idea what to expect. So it will be a fully digital experience, most probably even better than you have it in the CLA, because we're 1 year ahead and we're one segment above. So the car will deliver lots of infotainment, lots of comfort. Even if we can't see a lot, we can feel already quite a bit. We'll feel the car very comfortable, yet still pretty dynamic, as you might expect it from the mid-range SUV in the Mercedes lineup. It feels more mature than the CLA and the outgoing GLA, GLB. It feels more agile, more aggressive than a GLE, for example. So it's sitting right in the middle, and the idea was to make it the best GLC ever, so that you don't have to feel a difference and make a decision between petrol and electric. You just have the feeling you're sitting in a very, very good GLC. When it comes to the technology of the car, we're talking about the next architecture, next platform derived from the MMA architecture. We're now talking about Mercedes EA, Mercedes Electric Architecture, which refers to the bigger size of the vehicles. So we have more engine power, we have more battery capacity. In this case, we're talking to motors with up to 360 kilowatts, transferring to 489 horsepower. And we're talking about batteries with up to 94.5 kilowatt hours, transferring to a range that Mercedes is now quoting with more than 650 kilometers. This prototype was not fully charged when I entered it. It's pretty cold outside, and it already had 630 and a bit of range. And if you look at the max range with a very efficient driving style, it's more than 800 kilometers. So I'm pretty sure this car will enter the 700 kilometer club, which somehow seems to become the new standard here in Europe. Once the battery is empty, we're talking about charging, and we're talking about quick charging, because this car as well has an 800 volt architecture finally, and it's going to charge with up to 320 and maybe even a bit more kilowatts. Means you should save your cappuccino for the arrival and should switch to espresso at the charger because you won't have enough time to enjoy a longer drink. Thanks for joining me on that first prototype drive with the new Mercedes GLC. It is still a year until the car hits the market and roughly 6 months until it's got its world debut at the Munich Auto Show, and I'm pretty sure Mercedes will cut a few more slices from the PR salami to keep us informed. But this first slice of the salami definitely whetted my appetite and showed Mercedes has learned its lessons after stumbling on the electric avenue with the first EQC. For example, this car is a decent, proper EV, ready to take the challenge that is coming up. And together with the Neue Klasse that will have its debut in Munich as well, it also shows that Germany is back in the race. The country that invented the automobile and somehow fell behind now has 2 cars in the race to compete against the Chinese and the Americans.